There's a lot of spiders. So, guys, if you want to begin the journey to enlightenment, you just have to get involved with the narcissist. Discovery of narcissism and narcissistic abuse and the proper awareness of what it is the beginning of your journey to enlightenment. Do you guys want me to repeat that for you? The discovery of narcissism and narcissistic abuse and the complete awareness of what it is the beginning of your journey to enlightenment. So, when I woke up a couple of years ago, awakened. When I awakened a couple of years ago, I found an explanation. There was an explanation that people used to talk about. So I used to hear things of, oh, people like that, they have NPD. Okay, I say NPD, okay, let's learn more. So, personality this, personality that. So now I'm there. I was between, this video is going to be very important actually. So we are going to have to listen very closely. I was in the middle between knowing exactly what was happening and what had happened and understanding it. But you see, there was a problem. There was an issue at the time. The thing I used to hear was NPD. But the experience felt there was more to the NPD they're talking about. There was something more. So I knew there was something more behind the scenes beyond NPD. So I put my experience together and I went on so people here, they do voodoo. People, they come here to worship. I didn't know that people do these things here in this place. Why do people do voodoo, these things of voodoo and what? People are just trying to destroy themselves. Voodoo is not working, ladies and gentlemen. Those things are not working. So I said I'm going to put my experience, and I went ahead to understand, to learn from some other coaches as well. And then I was like, okay, I get it. The experience was spiritual. It was spiritual. It was spiritual warfare. You see, when a person tells you about a disorder, personality disorder, that person is going to very likely keep you asleep. Do you guys want me to repeat that for you? When a person mentions anything about a personality disorder, which, okay, we can at some point understand it is on this 3D level, there is a very big chance that person is going to put you back to sleep. So even if you're trying to wake up, you're fully not going to wake up the way you should wake up. Okay? So you're going to partly wake up. Because now say, oh, I was dealing with this individual, they had an NPD, so now you have a word for it. But the real awakening is when you understand what exactly those people mean by that so-called personality disorder. Are we together, my chosen ones? This whole thing is deep. Ladies and gentlemen, the faster people understand this, the proper understanding of what you're dealing with, it will break you free. So, the reason why you see a person can be trapped in therapy for decades. You can find a person going to therapy every other week. They have a session. They have a meeting, appointment. They call them appointments. Every other week, appointment. Every other week, appointment. They are going to go forever, and they will not heal. Even some of the psychologists themselves, they have mentioned they never saw anybody really heal, fully heal. They have not seen anyone. So they see people who walk in and out of those offices, but they didn't see results. They saw an improvement, but they never saw results. Do you know why? Because the real truth is what breaks you out of the entire illusion of something you thought they call narcissistic abuse. You see, when you try to look at these things from a spiritual perspective, that is when you understand that narcissists are like gatekeepers. Okay? I like vlogging, so don't worry about this camera moving up and down. I like vlogging. Just be patient. As long as you get the message, you will be okay. That's the thing. When you're vlogging, you have to move around, walk a little bit if you feel bored. Find the best spot to sit down. If you don't like it, move around. You guys are not content creating, so one day you'll understand. I feel like we are comfortable now. So, these individuals are gatekeepers. They are gatekeepers between the physical and the spiritual. So there is souls that are meant to awaken, and there is souls that never came here to awaken. Not in this lifetime. They didn't come here to awaken. In this lifetime, no, it's not going to happen. But there are some of those souls that are here to awaken. And the narcissist is the one who is at the gate. So the very moment you start to, move around like spiritually, we're talking about this thing, we're talking about dimension, spiritual stuff. Anytime you intend or plan to ascend, you're going to be blocked by the narcissist. It's the reason as to why you see when you're with those individuals, you feel like everything is not moving. They're hiding you from certain information, they are gaslighting you, they are twisting your mind, they are manipulating and everything. You reach a point where you think that you're going crazy. That is because you're dealing with the spirit. So you're dealing with the spirit, and that spirit is aware. Is on a mission, not even aware, on a mission to keep you as asleep as you can be. Because there is a way how those individuals have always wanted to control you as an individual. But you can only control a person that is asleep. You cannot control a person who is enlightened, who knows the truth. It's not possible. So that is exactly what they was running from. They was running and hiding you from the truth, keeping you very far away from that truth, because that truth is exactly what would set you free. I've been watching a lot of coaches, different ones, from the spiritual community. Many of them, a lot of them, while as they are talking, you will hear one word, narcissism. They are talking one word, narcissism. They have all experienced a narcissist at some point. When you see the experience you have endured during that thing of narcissistic abuse, you will understand that on this world there is evil. Of all the things you learned in school, everything that they told you about everybody, They never told you anything about the narcissist. Nobody told you that. And that was the most important thing you had to know. So many years ago, in the ancient times, people used to talk about demons. Oh, demon this and demon that. But the only thing they didn't tell you is that demons walk through people. So those demons attach themselves to people. They walk through people. They don't just come around like wind or like some beast in the woods, hiding in the mountains. No, they hide in people because they're spiritual. They are spirits. What exactly is happening is that these individuals, you will experience that level of evil you have not seen anywhere else. Is when you will fully understand that in this life, there is people that are very, very evil, So anybody that has gone through abuse and anything happened, something must have happened, an event happened and you woke up, your life cannot be the same. It's not possible. Your life is going to change in a way and a direction you have never experienced before. Because now you're fully going to understand that the evil exists on this ring. And evil works through people. Because you see, when you discover narcissism, another thing what I've noticed, it feels like you bust through these doors. It's like gates, invisible walls, gates. You bust through these walls and you start to see the exact image or the exact world that was being hidden behind the veil. Because one of the things you're going to realize as well, you're going to start looking around you and you're going to see these people, they're everywhere. And you're thinking that, oh, so that means that your father is a narcissist, your brother is a narcissist, your uncle is a narcissist, your teacher is a narcissist, your priest, your pastor, everybody's a narcissist. You're going to see these people, they're everywhere and they're many. And the first thing what will come to your mind is that why didn't you know? And why didn't you have this information? Because you see, on that plane, when you awaken, you start speaking a language. And it is always going to feel it is the language from the stars. You're going to feel like you're speaking the language from the stars. It is going to feel you're speaking the language from the stars. Because everybody else will be around you. They will be thinking that you have the vocabulary that you're using that they never had before. It doesn't make any sense. You burst through illusion. It's because you see, when you're on a low frequency, these individuals, the reason why they try to keep you from getting enlightened, raising your vibration and living your best life, you are in a very low state of frequency. That's why they have always kept you. Very low state of vibration, so that you could never elevate and ascend spiritually. But when eventually you have done being with those individuals and you burst through that veil, you broke through that veil, is where you're going to now start to get all these languages that you've never had before. There's terms you're starting to use, there's words you understand, there's a different level, you're on a different paradigm. There's a language now you can understand and you can speak. And it's why many people don't even understand what you're saying. Because you are actually on a different plane. You are starting to get enlightened. That is when, me, I didn't know actually that I was getting enlightened in the beginning. I did not even know what enlightenment was. And then as the time went on, I started to say, okay, now I understand. The world that I used to understand before, it was no longer the same world I would see now because I was experiencing a different type of world. And most of the times why you think people call you crazy is because you're on a different timeline. Awakening shifts you spiritually from lower states of consciousness into a little bit higher states of consciousness. Of course, these things take stages. You can rise. It's like a pyramid. You go one step at a time. But you're no longer operating or reasoning from the previous states of consciousness, the ones that you was operating from before, the ego. There's no fear. Yes, the ego is there, but it doesn't get a hold of you because a lot of times you have been trapped within the ego. You are thinking different. You're seeing things different. There's a different view of the world that you understand. So in most of the cases, you may not even realize that you started to get enlightenment. You have started walking that journey of enlightenment. Is why in my videos you've heard me talking about things like this is the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empath free. Because that time I started. So in the beginning, I had Denzomos. For many of you guys who started with me, so there was Denzomos 88 something, and then later on, I think it took about a year. I realized that I was actually walking the journey of enlightenment. I was getting more and more enlightened day by day. So that's why I chose my intro. This is the channel of truth. I no longer use that intro nowadays because it's kind of a long one. But now I said this is the channel of truth, enlightenment, and freedom. That's when I knew. So those individuals, they're the only barriers between the old world and the new world. They are gatekeepers. They are like the ones standing on the gate. So everybody else who is trying to get information, learn things or stuff like that, it will be very difficult for them because whenever they reach the gate, they're going to find these are like security guards. No, you cannot get in, go back there. You cannot get in, go back there. They're the ones who are keeping the gates and standing at the door. You know? They are the ones who are standing at the door so that you cannot get between the old and the new. So anybody else try to get access to this kind of information, you find those ones standing there, go back and sit down. You're not going anywhere. Spiritually, we're not talking about physically. Is why most of the times when a person is starting to awaken, is now where you start to hear those things like, oh, NPD, especially if you've been dealing with a narcissist. Is where you're going to see a lot of this time people are talking about, personality disorder, this. That is not helping you to awaken. The only thing you're understanding, the only thing that is really happening, when you start to hear those things of personality disorder and this, they are trying to send you back to sleep spiritually. They are sending you back to sleep because the moment I understood that this was a spirit, that is exactly when I burst through those gates. So the only thing that helped me back in the days, I could listen and I could learn from people because, for example, there are some other people who look at this thing from a scientific 3D perspective and they can help you understand, okay, so they do this and then they lie to you, then they do that and then they cheat on you. So those kind of things, yes, it's good to understand and it's okay. But when you want to burst through the door, to burst that door wide open, is by you figuring out and understanding. And this is something you have got to understand on your own. Yes, you may hear people like me who is talking about it. It may make a lot of sense. But you have got to compare it with your own personal experience for you to be able to understand what it is. So when you overstand, what I've told you is the awareness. You can hear, you listen, and then you become aware. So awareness is a different frequency. When you become aware, that is when you burst the doors open. The doors that have been closed on you for decades. So you burst those doors open because now you are entering the real world that you have to, the real world that you have to know. Because me, I don't believe. Personally, these are my I like to talk about. I like to say it as it is. A lot of you guys have been following me for a while. I like to say it as it is. I like to do my own research. I can hear something, I say, okay, thank you for that information. I get what I want. Is what I've always told you. If it resonates, because there are sometimes when you talk about things and they don't resonate with people. So you cannot tell me a person goes through. Let us wait for the breakdown to pass. You cannot tell me a person goes through narcissistic abuse. All right? And you're going to go get help from a person that never experienced abuse. What are they going to tell you? The only thing they're going to tell you is that, That is what they do because they learned something from the book. Okay, they went to these trainings and whatever, so they learned some stuff from the books, but they have not experienced it personally. They don't even know in physical what that person looks like. Even if they have met some of them, they don't know the experience because this is something you experience. It is something that is experienced. It is something that is experienced. It is not something that is told. You don't just tell somebody that, oh, there exist people like this, like this. Yes, it's okay. You can tell them that maybe they can understand a little bit, but the whole experience is supposed to be experienced. You are supposed to be inside of that relationship, situationship, so you better understand what it is. So when you wake up and then somebody starts to tell you, oh, because according to the book, so and so wrote this book, and they said it's a personality disorder. And you say, okay, personality disorder, but then there's something missing. There is something missing. What are you not saying? You feel like there's something they're not saying. That is because some of them don't even have the experience themselves. Even some of them, they are the problem. Do you know how many therapists are helping victims of abuse and they're the narcissists themselves? Do you know how many of them they're out there? There's many survivors who have run into those therapists. They're narcissists themselves and they say they are therapists, psychologists. So now you have been dealing with abuse and you end up with this individual who is now telling you, they're the ones who are now telling you what you should be doing. Oh, you can go back and discuss, you can talk to your partner. I've had some people telling me those kind of things. How can you tell somebody that kind of BS? Oh, you can go and talk to your partner. There is something you can do. So when they say this, you can say this. When they do this, you can do this. So they teach you how to counter this thing. You go back in that abuse, they never tell you to leave. Oh, okay, eventually you might leave. But one of the things they're usually going to be telling you is to go back because you're dealing with a narcissist. So that is one of the reasons why I refused to go to therapy. Well, there was two. One of them, I didn't even have the funds at the time. I was broke. Two, I did not trust anybody at that time. I couldn't trust anyone. Because I was like, so what if I run into another one? I just left one and I run into another. What am I going to do? I had to think about myself. Ladies and gentlemen, I can promise you, anybody that has experienced abuse, your life cannot, it does not matter how much you want it to be, it can never be the same. Life as you know it is going to shift completely 180 degrees because you are now starting your journey to enlightenment. You see, the fastest way to awaken is why you see a lot of times the victims of abuse, narcissistic abuse, they're the ones that are starting to wake up. A lot of victims who have gone through narcissistic abuse, they are starting to wake up. There's other ways people wake up, different ways, but one of the major ones is abuse, narcissism. You know, and then you start to understand. You see, okay, so this spirit is ancient. The narcissist is a spirit. That spirit is ancient. Because you see, when you start to understand what narcissism is, you remove the vessel, you remove the body, you remove the vessel. You say, okay, now I'm not going to deal with you. You are just a vessel. I need to understand that spirit. Because now you have two individuals. You have the vessel here and the spirit. Now you say, okay, I understand you as a vessel because I've already dealt with you. I heard the words you said. Now I want to understand the meaning of your words and actions. What exactly was behind that meaning? Now that's when exactly you understand the spiritual part of narcissism. So when you want to say it's a personality disorder, you're focusing on the vessel, the person that is a narcissist. You're focusing on the vessel. When you start moving into the spiritual dimension, you are understanding the spirit, the one that used to propel or that used to operate within that person. Now you understand that it was a spirit. And that is exactly when awareness is what breaks you free. I've told you guys there is no other way to break trauma bonds than becoming aware of what you're dealing with. It's going to be very fast for you. Trauma bonds are broken by awareness. But with time, you're going to realize, as you evolve and as you keep on growing, going on with life, you realize narcissistic abuse is the beginning of your journey to enlightenment. Because when you look back so many years ago, and the moment you found out who a narcissist was, you will always realize that your life has never been the same. So that is when you start breaking out of these loops. You break through, you break out of the matrix, the illusions, and you're starting to discover the illusions in your family, the illusion in school, the illusion in your church. There's many people that are starting to discover that their pastors, there was the problem. Their parents was the problem. So it was just different vessels, different places, but same spirit. They're all doing the same thing. It was the same cycle. Is how you know that you're dealing with the spirit, because everybody has the same pattern, it's the same playbook. So freedom is expensive. So a lot of guys, we of us who have been on this journey to heal and stuff, to get where we are, we ran into different types of narcissists. Me personally, I don't know about you, but me personally, I ran into a lot of them. My journey to freedom began the moment I discovered narcissistic abuse. I've never looked back. Life has never been the same. It's tough, but you grow, you evolve, you shed the skin, you heal. You become the greatest version, the better version of yourself, because this is why sometimes you see people can no longer recognize you, because when you get enlightened, you have a different image and view and perspective of the world. It's not the same that you used to have before. Okay? So I don't know what you guys think about the video, and I don't want it to get longer than this. Let us know in the comments below. You guys know I do love and appreciate your support. Please book a session if you want to. You may donate or support my channel if you want to. Everything you need, you will find it in the description below. And until then, I will see you guys in my next one. Denzo signing out. Much love and blessings. Peace.